Okay. Basically, you have the 6 essay questions there. Obviously, prepping a sort of basic blueprint for all 6, if you do that, you can't go wrong, because it'll be one of those 6. Just a reminder that the multiple choice is a combination of stimulus-based and traditional multiple choice. It's a hybrid test. And just keep in mind, just recall that when you get a stimulus question, the answer is not going to be in the stimulus prompt. It's not going to be in that. But the stimulus will get you thinking along the right lines. So take a look who the author is, right? Figure out what concept the stimulus is dealing with. And once you get that under control, then it's just a matter of which answer fits with that concept. I mean, if it's something by Machiavelli, it's not going to be talking about the goodness of human nature. Okay? Which of the following of these ideas was put forth argued for by Machiavelli? It's not going to be the fundamental goodness of human nature. No. The concept that all monarchs should seek to be good and just in all things at all times. Okay, so there we are with that. Now it's time for questions. Rendika.
I was like looking at prompt 3 and it only come up with like 2 points.
Which question is that?
Describe and analyze the growth of middle class support for the new monarchs.
Well, and explaining why. What I would do is kind of explain the dynamic that's going on, and then provide some examples from each of the countries. Maybe there only are 2 points. I mean, the having 3 controls is a sort of rule of thumb. It's not required. It depends on the question. Some questions don't lend themselves to 3 controls.
So could I like talk about like the merchants and the relationship between the kings,
Yeah.
and then like the nobles and how they kind of screwed over?
Yeah, how they opposed all that. Why they were operating against both the middle class and the monarchs. Yeah. I mean, that's a big part of it. And you can take that all the way back to the Middle Ages. That goes all the way back to when... Now, the exception, though, is in Italy, where there's no monarchy, per se, no united monarchy, and there the nobles and the merchants marry into each other's family and join forces, and you get this bizarre concoction known as the urban nobility in Italy. But I think that's only because there was no monarch. So there was no like tension there to play off.
When you were talking about alliances between the middle class and monarchs, that was in Italy, right?
Well, there is no monarch in Italy.
Well, okay. Well, when you were talking
The
about
nobility.
the nobility, yeah.
Yeah, the nobility
That's what I meant.
and the middle class, that's in Italy. Because there's no monarchy. There's no
Yeah.
monarchy to play the 2 off each other. And you don't have that struggle for power between nobles and a king trying to centralize. So there's no reason for the nobles and middle class to be at each other. And the Italian nobles are like, hey, these guys are making so much money, they're living such, lavish, rich lifestyles. We want in on that. You know?
Can you go like a little more in depth as to like the main reason as to why the monarchy formed an alliance with the middle class and not the nobles?
Well, okay. There's a couple reasons. First off, whether we go back to the Middle Ages and the stuff we did at the very beginning of the year, or we talk about the new monarchies, what all these monarchs, kings, are trying to do is consolidate power. They're trying to centralize things. They're trying to unite their countries and centralize power in their own hands. Well, if you think about it, who loses out if that happens? The nobility. They want to keep power decentralized. They want to keep it in their hands. So as, for every increase in central government power, they lose. So they're going to oppose that tooth and nail. Now, they also are in conflict with the middle class because the middle class in the towns is making a lot of money, and they really have no way of forcing them to give them, the nobles, a cut or control it. So they're trying to get more control over the merchants in their area. Well, the kings look at that and go, okay, well, who's our biggest problem? The nobility. Who's our biggest potential ally? The middle class. Why? They have money. We need money to build up our standing army and centralize our government to deal with the nobles. What do they want? They want the nobles off their backs. I can do that. I can guarantee the middle class, town and things, town liberties and things like that in a charter saying, you're free to self-govern internally and all that, as long as you contribute the requisite amount of tax revenue. So the monarchs get money, the middle class gets out from under the thumb of the nobility, and the nobles are kind of the odd men out on the deal.
Is 1494 the turning point? Is that going to be something that we're going to have to know, like, throughout the year, like later for the exam, or is it just kind of something that you?
It's something that becomes significant. Yeah, it's going to be something to hang on to.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, another thing to think about too, and the question that economic causes rather than, it's some of the economic factors rather than social and political, led to the Renaissance in Italy. Obviously, the rise of trade, Italian trade, and the wealth, and banking for families like the Medici, right? All that stuff. But also, if you look at it, you can have more to say and say, well, actually, not only were economic factors more important than the political and social, but the political and social actually were things that got in the way, or could have gotten in the way of the Renaissance development. Because politically, it was a mess. Right? And socially, there's a big class difference. And remember, it's not that the common ordinary people are not taking part in this study in the classics and all that. And a lot of what's going on they're not real keen on. Witness what happened in the 1490s with Savonarola in Florence. He was able to lead that popular uprising and throw the Medici out of town for a while by saying, hey, these guys shouldn't be spending all this money on art and beautifying it. They should be focused on, being good Christians and all that, like you common folk are. We ought to do something about that. Any other questions? Well, that's either really good or really frightening.
I think we're all just like dead.
It's a little bit.
That's
Well,
our first.
but-
It's raining.
You got an opportunity.
Yeah.
You're
I
here.
understand.
You're here and I'm here. I mean, yeah.
What's that essay question?
One of six.
1 of 6.
Wow. We're like.
It'll
We
either
answered
be
4, and we
A.
could have gotten something.
It'll either be A, B, C, D, E, or F.
Ooh, good one. Or all
There
of
will
them.
be no G.
I forgot, what was the explanation to why France became an absolute monarchy?
Well, because the kings were able to tap into the cult of Saint Denis and all that. Plus, the big thing was the French kings had arbitrary tax powers. They didn't have to get anybody's permission to tax. They had the tithe, the land tax. They had the gabelle, the salt tax. So they didn't need to consult with any kind of parliament or anything. They could tax whenever they wanted. And that meant they had a lot more. That's a lot of power right there. They had an Estates General that they were supposed to consult, but that only met when the king called it, so they just didn't call it. It's like, you want to talk about thanks for sharing. Oh my gosh. What about the, yes, thanks for sharing, the Estates General. And who calls that? Why, I do. Do I want to call it? No. So is it going to get called? No.
Thanks for flagging that. That table is so creaky.
It's all right.
It scares me.
Why, you're not sitting on
Well, it scares me for you. 'Cause
Nah.
then we'd have to get like a long-term Euro sub. Oh,
it?
could
Yeah,
you
like, Miss Skelton.
imagine? Ooh. Oh.
Yes.
My sister loved her. She had skeleton and then you.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Well, I didn't know if you remembered.
Yeah, I did.
It wasn't that long ago.
No, it really
Did
wasn't.
you like Maddie? I like them.
Yeah.
More than you.
Not that the viewers out there need to hear him,
Yeah, she's only doing it because. No, yeah, that's why I'm asking because like Maddie and I are so different. I feel like teachers would either like really like one of us and then not like the other one.
but that, look. I like just about everybody. It's very, that's not appropriate. But anyway,
It's on the test.
yes. Nobody has any other questions, like, you got the new monarchies down?
Can you explain the Star Chamber?
Yeah, it's a court in England, the Court of Star Chamber.
Was that one supposed to be like the closest introduction to the Spanish language?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
a
I thought.
court, it was to deal with recalcitrant nobles. Nobles that were giving
Yeah.
the king a rough time or not, haul them into Star Chamber and they don't get a jury, they don't get a lawyer, they don't get to even know what the charges are and they're tortured until they confess and then they're executed. Pretty effective.
What country was that in?
England. Yeah, the nice, the country with a parliament and, certain English liberties and stuff. But yet, we have Star Chamber.
Can you Google like the trade relationships during like the Renaissance, like the Hanseatic League and stuff?
All right, the Hanseatic League, all that is a union of about 200 cities along the Baltic and North Sea coasts, on the northern coast of Europe. That started back in the 1100s, and basically what they did was they pooled the resources to keep the North and Baltic Sea clear of pirates, so to make trade safer. Right? They established a